I go, your gut feelings will tell you everything. And if somebody sets themselves up on a platform for you to be reliant upon them, then that is bells ringing. Hello. Nobody, if they're working with the energy in the right way, has anybody relying upon them. People will write to me and they'll go, oh, Teymara, should I do this or should I do that? My response back to them is, I don't know. What do you think? Go into your gut feelings. That's your connection to God.
Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I'm your humble servant and seafood, Taoist Master San Qing, and it's the thunder from down under. Today is a banger. I'm very excited to have on the podcast a mastered, what I would like to call a wisdom teacher of many kinds, but she's very humble, and I want to welcome to the podcast Teymara.
Hello. How are you?
I want to take it a little deeper because you've been coined this very one sort of like title, and I find it appropriate, but it only just touches the surface because you're just you're incredible gift and a teacher. Let's just start with the transformative therapist, but let's go deeper into that, my dear friend.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Ask away.
So, why don't we get an abbreviation of how you got here?
Wow. Are you kidding me? A long journey. Look, if I go back to childhood, I was born and raised in an area of Victoria, Australia, which is known as the Dandenong Ranges. And so it was all country up there. We had market gardens around. We had all of the Italians that were growing all of the food all around us. And my father was a blacksmith and my mother actually ran the family's business. And then dad went from being a blacksmith that they then created a huge engineering company up there. But my mother would always, every week, she would get a copy of what was called the Australian Women's Weekly. And every week she would read her astrology. And I thought that was really like a bit weird because we were also quite religious. Yeah. And so my life was made up of like music. So I started playing the piano when I was 4, and I started teaching the piano when I was 15. So, and then when I went a little bit further and I started to get into my spiritual work, what I was to learn was that Pythagoras, who perfected numerology in 545 BC, was also responsible for the musical scale. So, I just say to people, I've obviously had Pythagoras hanging around me like since I was 4. So like life was very like up and down, not easy upbringing, not easy like my teens, my 20s. But at the age of 23, I found myself divorced with a little girl who was 2.5 years of age. And somebody dragged me to have a reading done. This woman said to me where I was working, you've got to see this woman because you've just been through what it is that I've been through. And she told me everything and it really helped me. And I went, I don't know, because I was raised to believe that anything to do with readings was the work of the devil. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. All of you churches, all of you men of the church, teaching people to be absolutely afraid of doing anything in this area, in this realm, to do with this realm, because of course that empowers people and you don't want people to be empowered. Anyway, so I went to this woman and had a session, and she described my daughter to me. She described a whole lot of things that were going to happen, which were like, I thought at the time, I went, oh no, it's like that's never going to happen. My ex-husband won't do that. My mother won't do that. My family won't do that to me. Well, have a guess what she said actually happened. But she said to me, don't worry about it, because she said, you are going to win this court case. And this little girl will never, ever, 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 ever be taken away from you. So all of that happened. And I just went, wow. But she also said to me at the time, she set out and she was doing my charts, you know, in a similar way that I do charts today. And she said, you're going to do what I do. Now, let's look at this. Single mum, no money, on a pension, cleaning houses to make ends meet, and then working in restaurants on the weekends that my daughter was with her father to make that extra money to be able to pay for the car payment, etc., etc. And I just looked at her as if she had 6 heads. And I said, pardon? She said, you're going to do what I do, but I'm telling you now, you're going to be very, very famous. What? And she said, but you're going to start and you're going to work with numbers. So I can see you and I, she said, I'm being shown you. And if you believe in past lives, they're showing me you, and you were in Egyptian times, and you were doing all of the writing on all of these scrolls. And she said, and it's all about numbers, and it's all about to do with the universe, and it's all to do with the heavens. So she said, you're going to start off with numbers. And she said, and you'll do that, and numbers will talk to you, and you won't learn it. You will just open a book to do with numbers, and you will just start reading this book, and you will go, oh yes, okay, yep. And she said, and that's it. And she said, and you put the book to one side and off you will go, and you will create your own system. After a period of time, you will then introduce information to do with planets and where the planets are in a chart. And then you will learn cards. You'll pick up cards and you will do that. And she said, and then you'll get to a point in your life where you are going to experience loss. And when you experience that loss, you are going to open up to another level. And then there will be more loss. But whatever loss you experience in your life to do with death, you will always come out, you will always be okay. And you'll come out of it, and you'll come out of it with another level of awareness and information. She said, now, you've got a problem with this about being famous. And I went, yes. And she said, well, I'm just going to tell you something. A very, very famous singer from America, you will meet this person, and you will meet this person in Australia. And when you meet this person and his wife, they will say to you that they do not believe in what you do. But she said it's all of the people that travel with this person to Australia that you will work with that will basically just be at this man and his wife to see you. And because they will keep on saying to them, this woman has told me things that nobody knows. Nobody knows. And that's especially nobody that's on tour knows. So come the last night, the keyboard player, and the guy's name is Lionel Richie, the keyboard player, he rings me a few days before and he said, right, this is all of their full names at birth, their birth dates, do the charts, come to the last concert, come backstage, and that's all we can do. That's all we can do. I went, okay, yep, cool, not a problem. Yep. So I did all of that, and I turned up and went backstage, and God had given me a message So their charts were wrapped in parchment paper with CDs back then. And the message that God gave me for Lionel when he opened up this parcel was, God gives each and every human being with a gift. The gift you give to God is to find that gift and do something with it. The gift God will give you is all that you achieve in the world and more. So he opened it up, looked at Randy, said, where is she? He said, she's in next door. He said, go get her. So he comes to me, he said, he wants to see you. And I went, oh, okay. So off I go. We open up the door and Lionel's standing on the other side of the room, and he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, you're her? And I said, yes. He said, but you're little. And I went, in my high heels? I went, yes. And he said, and you're normal, like you're normal. He expected somebody overweight with a turban on and wearing a big caftan, yeah? and I said, like, yes. He said, I'm normal. I'm Lionel. And I said, yes, and I know that. And he said, come over here. This is my wife, Brenda. And I went, hello, you know. And she was very cool, very aloof. And I went, okay, not a problem. So he opens this up. He said, so explain this. So I started talking. And then he said, okay, before you go any further, I need to say something to you. And I said, yes. And he said, I don't believe in any of this. I said, oh, well, that's okay. That's okay. But do you want me to continue? And he said, yes, but I just need to make it clear. I don't believe in any of this, and neither does she. I said, well, I'm not a fan of yours and I have none of your records. So does that make us even? And he just roared with laughter, and she roared with laughter. So Brenda then got, it's like, oh my God, you know, she's not a groupie. And he just laughed. And that was it. And from that day to this, it's like we have had this friendship, and I spend time. So this woman had said to me that this world-renowned singer, when I was to meet him, he would open up America for me. Now, I thought this woman, again, had 6 heads. She then said to me that I would then do a lot of study and I would get a lot of qualifications. Now, let's just be aware here, right? I suffered from a mild form of dyslexia as a child. And I had a problem that as I've done my study, I've totally understand. I was a kinesthetic learner. So I have to feel things and I have to experience things before I'm able to process, and I get the learning, and then it stays with me and I never ever lose it. But of course, with schooling, it's all left brain. We all have to be left brain analytical, and I didn't fit in. So I hated school. I was okay in primary school until I got to about probably grade 6, and then I just, whatever they were teaching just did not make any sense to me at all. So I did 3 years of what we call high school here in Australia, and then I was out of school, and I got through on all of my creative subjects. So my music, my art, all of that got me through. And then I went and I did a little bit of study so I could then get a qualification in business management. So that was that. But this woman said to me, you're going to do a lot of study, you're going to get a lot of qualifications. I said, beg pardon? She said, you're going to do a lot of study, you're going to get a lot of qualifications. And I went, oh no, I'm never going back to school. No, I can't do exams. I can't do it. Well, she said, I'm just saying to you, but it won't be in this like you are at school learning. This is going to be very, very different. And the qualifications that you get will be very different. And she said, I'm going to say something to you right now. And she said, and never forget it. You are going to get to a point where after you work on yourself and you have done all of the healing that needs to take place, all of those qualifications that you are going to get, you're going to formulate a process. And she said, and the best way I can describe what you are going to do, it's like people will enter into a room, and it's like entering into like an aeroplane. And then that aeroplane goes on a journey, and then the aeroplane lands. How the people were when they enter that aeroplane and how they depart that aeroplane, they're going to be totally transformed and healed. So that was really, really interesting. So everything that she said all came true. I've had a hoot of a time in America when we go back, because it was 1987 when I met the guys. So I spent time with them in America, in their home in like the early 90s, before Lionel and Brenda actually divorced. And since they divorced, I've spent a bit of time with Lionel, but I mainly see him when he tours Australia. So when he tours Australia and he's here in Melbourne, we spend time together. But I've kept very, very close friendship with his wife, Brenda, who is his first wife. And I spent like a lot of time with her up until COVID. And then I've been grounded here in Australia since COVID, and I have chosen not to fly, and I won't fly until Trump has got in with all of his team and changed everything that needs to be changed and transformed in the world. And when all of that happens, then I will then decide where it is that I want to fly to and what it is that I want to do. But the transformational work, like with the aeroplane, people boarding the plane and then getting off and they're totally different. That's a seminar that I created in 1991 called Born to Be Free. And this has been its 33rd year, but it's very interesting because now in its 33rd year, what has happened is that I've been doing a lot of one-on-one work with people to transform them at a subconscious level and get rid of all of the negativity and all of the trauma so they can get on with their lives. So working with a lot of people that have been sexually abused, a lot that have been raped, a lot of people that have gone through like very, very traumatic childhoods. It's been working on all of that. And then when COVID hit, then somebody said to me, you need to be interviewed on these podcast things that are out. And I went, what are you talking about? And they go, well, this is what it is, and this is what these people are doing. So one of my girlfriends wrote a letter off, and I appeared with Nicholas Veniamin in London. And when I appeared with Nick, a lovely girl from Atlanta by the name of Bryce, Esoteric Atlanta, saw me on with Nick, and she got in contact with me and said, oh my God, or was it that, or was it, it may have been John Claude. John Claude got in contact with me, so I was on with him, and then Bryce saw me on with John Claude and Janine, and then Bryce said, oh my God, will you please? And then Bryce and I have just continued on from there, because she's an Aquarian and I've got my moon in midheaven is in Aquarius. So we just like connected. And so that's basically been the story in a nutshell. Yeah.
Just a little nutshell there.
Just a little nutshell. And it's interesting because the deaths that I experienced, I'd already experienced the death of my father. So he had died suddenly of a heart attack at the age of 58. And then the next lot of death that I experienced was like quite a few years later, but both of my granddaughters died. And my first granddaughter passed at the age of 5.5 months after she had her boosters. So they called that crib death or cot death. And I have said, like, no, it's like this, there's something more to this crib death and the cot death. So I started looking more into that. And then I did some research, and they'd said that in Japan, they banned boosters. They banned the vaccinations of babies for 3 years, and there was no crib death or cot death. So I went, right, there's something to do with the vaccinations, you know. But as I said to my daughter, like, our bubby, she passed a week after her booster. But I said to her, but there are other babies that were also vaccinated. So it means that our precious little bubby, that her immune system wasn't strong enough to fight off whatever was in that booster vaccination that they gave her. And then my second granddaughter, 7 years later, she was stillborn. And then 7 years after that, we got our boy. And our boy is now 19 and 6'3". So I feel very, very blessed. But we were really onto it right from the word go with him, because before he was born, I had connected with a man over here in Australia by the name of Isaac Golden. And Isaac Golden did all homeopathic, like treatments for babies and for young children. So our boy, that's all he had from the time that he was born. He just had the homeopathics all the way through. So then I shared that information. So then people with their babies who didn't want their babies vaccinated were then able to get onto an alternative medicine, like way back then, which is like 19 years ago. So that's it. So questions?
Well, yeah, I guess you'll be excited when RFK Jr. gets in, right?
Oh, mate, Born to be Free. Now, in Born to be Free, I did a part in Born to be Free, which was wake up. Wake up. So way back in 1991, I was teaching about fluoride in water. And I was talking about like removing the iodine from our bread. And what they did, they removed the iodine, but in the 80s, when they removed the iodine, they put in BVO, and BVO is in bread, it's in soft drinks, it's in so many things. Now, BVO, once it's ingested, it creates a very hard layer of fat on people's bodies. And the more they consume anything that has BVO in it, it's like the more weight they will put on. So you look at your foods and what the majority of people in America eat, and it's got the BVO. And so then it's, oh boy, I tell you. So these pharmaceuticals, they put this into the food, and then they create the whole of this weight loss industry. But all they had to do was remove that and a few other things out of the food and out of the drinks that people were consuming, and then Americans wouldn't have a weight problem.
So tell the audience what BBO is.
It's a powdered substance, and it's an industrial waste. So they put all of this industrial waste stuff into everything, into our foods, into like ice cream. I mean, propylene glycol was one of the things that I learned. Now I was to meet, and again, this was in the late 80s, early 90s. I was really lucky to be one of 20 people to experience a man from America that had come out to teach about the harmful ingredients in skincare and makeup. And his name was Tom Mauer. And back then his company was called Images. And then Images became, what did he then name it? New Ways, Neways. Tom has passed, God bless his soul. That man, I tell you, he was worth his weight in gold. And he taught us about propylene glycol. And he said that's what they use to make antifreeze. So then look at your labels. Anything that has propylene glycol in it, anything that has sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate in it, they are all to do with industry. So he was an industrial biochemist.
Mm.
And he said, Teymara, we needed to wear these big protective suits. And if the authorities came in and we were moving the tubs of these ingredients, we would, and we didn't have our protective suits on, we would be sued. He said, that's how dangerous this stuff is. And he said, and they put it into makeup and they put it into skincare. Bubble bath for children or for women. That bubble bath is sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate. And what it ends up doing, it ends up giving people urinary tract infections, and it gives you dermatitis. So all of the children with dermatitis and all of the little kiddies with their urinary tract infections, it was all being caused from bubble bath. With women with their skin, you've got this, they've got all of these ingredients in there, and these ingredients age your skin. So when your skin starts to age, it's then, oh, well, then you need the next level up. That's going to cost you like X amount of dollars more. And then it goes on and on and on and on. Toothpaste, sodium lauryl sulfate, what does it do? It inflames the gums, and it also erodes on your teeth enamel. I mean, I tell you, mate, it's like it's never ending. So I'd be there like in the early 90s teaching this in Born to Be Free, and people thought I was cray-cray. It's like, this woman's off her tree. You know, like, listen to her, listen to what she's saying. Yeah, what do? We wait X amount of years later, and it all starts to come out. And now Robert Kennedy, and I've gone, oh, thank you, God. Thank you. So now I'm hearing from all of these people over the past 33 years of me doing Born to Be Free, and they're saying, oh my God, Robert Kennedy is saying what you've been saying for all these years. And I go, yeah, I know. But I said, but all of you guys who listen to me, look at you, look at your health. Like, look at your body. You know, have you put on weight? No. Have you aged? No. Well, look at your children. You've stopped them having this, you've stopped them having that, and you've given them alternative things, and these kids are healthy.
Well,
I tell you what, mate.
Well, the big thing here is like seed oil is in everything.
Oh, like a canola. I mean, hello, Comet. Canola oil is like, they use it for tractors. I say to people, that's tractor oil. And when I go, if I'm ever going into like a cafe or a restaurant or whatever, and I just ask them, like, what do you cook with? You know, like, I'm wanting to have this, but I take my organic olive oil with my garlic and the most amazing expensive balsamic vinegar all mixed in together. And I just say to them, don't put any dressing on it. I don't want anything on it, just the food, and then give it to me, and then I put my dressing on. You know, but one thing that I say is that if I do go out and I'm dining out, and I just say to them, is this heated in a microwave? Is any of this heated in a microwave? And they go, well, yes. And I go, well, it's like, will you please ask the chef if they can heat it on top of the stove, like in a fry pan or in something? Yeah. And here is the oil if you need to do the oil, because I'm really, really sorry, but I'm allergic to any food that's heated in a microwave. And what actually happens is that I end up vomiting. And I said, and I don't want to vomit any food all over your table in your restaurant. Not a problem. Not a problem.
You keep them true. Well, truth telling, quite frankly. I mean, I use that all the time. It's like, I'm allergic to anything that has seed oil in it. Can you tell me what you don't have seed oil in? I end up having to leave because seed oil, they have olive oil blends. They're not really, and they're blending it with.
They're not. It's 10% olive oil and 90% canola. I mean, hello, Comet. You know. So I say to people, you have to read your labels, and people will go, well, what do I know? What do I need to be aware of when I go in to buy like shampoos or any type of skincare or makeup? I go, all you've got to do is look on the back, and if it's got talc in it, if it's got sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate in it, or it's got propylene glycol, put it back on the shelf.
You know, I mean,
it's these three things, and I just say, if it has these three things, you must put it back on the shelf, because those three things are a sign for you to know that this stuff is not good.
It's crazy when you get down to that stuff.
But when you look at this, it's like there's only one of you, and this is what people say to me, right? There's only like one of you, and you are over there, and we're over here. And that's why I created the work where I'm able to do the subconscious transformational work with them, like on Skype or on Zoom. Yeah, it's like, so are you able to do that? Are you able to do that with people making like an appointment with you, and you're able to do that work with them?
Yeah, I don't do anything face to face. I just do group stuff. Like if I do group healing, the most I've ever had was a couple of thousand people in one event. You know, once you access the frequency, it's really self-evident. It's like realigning yourself. Yeah. So, I mean, you had me at hello when you talk about things that are deep within the nature of somnambulistic response. That's when you get deep into really blending the magic. I tend to, whenever I've seen a physical healing, my brain waves have been between 100 and 400 hertz. Yeah. And that's just gamma, baby. That's all consciousness. Yeah. And that really, this is where you see said results. And I imagine that's where you take people to that state that gives them the ability to alter and move through any brainwave. So that once you're in gamma, you can access alpha, theta, delta, epsilon at will. Yeah. And that's one of the magical powers of that type of state. But yes, you and I are individuals, but we're collective in the sense that we're both catalysts and conduits to the ability to make this possible. But you're probably familiar with what's the last person that really bugged me a lot was this gal by the name of Dolores Cannon. She would be in my ear for the last 6 months, just beating a drum and that stuff. Yeah. Being a channel, I leave the lights on, so these energies like to knock on the door and blow the horn and just give me a bunch of stuff. If you've got your soapbox that you're getting on, like she did, she had this whole thing about. And I had like 12 or 15 of her students come through, and they were like validating all this stuff. She was complaining that most people would not implement her system of analysis and then healing through her super consciousness somnambulistic state, that there was like 5 stages to her process of regression and then awakening people. And people, she was complaining that people were only doing like 3 of the 5 stages, and that's why they weren't going as deep as they should be. And so she was a stickler for, method and processes, which I imagine you are exactly like I am. There's a method. There's a method to the madness. It doesn't just come from.
It's like with me, I just say to people, people go, well, how long is it going to take? I go, a couple of hours. They went, what? I said, a couple of hours. And they went, what? And we come back? No. I said, my goal is you come, you do the work, and then I never see you again. It's done. It's done. You've got, you've gone in, because, oh God, I was so lucky, because at the age of 37, I was suicidal. And I just went, you know what, God, it's like, I can't do this anymore. It's like, I'm just over this thing called life. It's like, it's too hard. And I said, you've got to do something. You have to show me something. And I was living in Sydney at the time, in Bondi Beach, and I found a leaflet that my now ex-husband had, and I was married 3 times, and So it's like I just looked at this leaflet and I went, I've got to see this man. So I rang and I just said, hi, you don't know me. I'm married to so-and-so. I was married to quite a famous actor here in Australia. And I said, I'm married to so-and-so and we need to come and see you. He said, I don't do couple work. And I went, no, you don't understand. We need to come and see you. So it took about 4, me persistent on that phone call. He said, okay, all right, we'll see you next week. So off we went. And then at the end, it was like, okay, so, and my third husband was an alcoholic, and violent. So I then said at the end of it, okay, like, well, how much do we owe you? And he said, nothing, do a reading for me. And his wife was there. And she went, she looked at him and she went, what? And he went, I need to have a reading. We need to have a reading with this person. We need to have our charts done with this woman. And she said, we've had all of our charts done. No, she's different. We've got to have this reading. So we did the reading for them. And then I had said to him, you're about to go overseas and you're about to study something that's going to totally transform the way that therapy is done on the planet. And he went, well, yeah. He said, I'm going to Hawaii and I'm learning NLP. And I went, it's not that. I said, I've already done that. I said, no, forget about that. It's not that. I said, it's something. Please call me when you get back. So he called me and he went, oh my God. And I went, yes, what? And he said, we worked with a kahuna in Hawaii. I went, right. And it's actually Hawaii. I say to people, that's the correct pronunciation. And I said, okay, all right. Oh, what did you learn? He said, you need to come over. You need to come over. And he said, and I want to work with you with these particular processes. And I want you to tell me like what you experienced. So off I went, did the work and went, oh my God. And he had a huge piece of lava with him that he brought back, and he had it in a corner behind a chest of drawers. And and as I was doing it, it's like my body was leaning right over, right? And so he had to keep on putting my body up, and then my body would go right over again. So then when I came out of the session, and I said to him, what is over there? And he said, I need to tell you something. And I said, what? He said, you need to go to Hawaii. You need to meet Uncle George. You need to do all of the work. Because he said, behind that chest of drawers is a piece of lava. And he said, and you need to go. So I did. And I went. I did all of my 4 levels. And then on my 4th level, I then said to Uncle George, his name is Uncle George Naopi, and he was the kahuna for Hawaii to do hula. So, and he would have all of these big hula festivals. It was just like, it was amazing. But he had all of the chants that he had passed down through the lineage. So we learned these chants, and we learned about the power of the universe, the power of nature, if you actually tuned into it. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And he showed at one point in time Hilo and Pele, the volcano on the big island, and the area that we did the study was Kona. And the volcano had erupted, and all of the lava was making its way down toward Hilo, which is one of the towns, and it was going to wipe them out. And it's really interesting because all of the authorities made them put all of their spirituality and all of their teachings like that had to all be put to one side. They weren't allowed to practice anything. So they all had to do it sort of like secretly, Anyway, until all of the lava is heading toward Hilo. And then that's when all of the authorities called on Uncle George and all of the other kahunas, and they meditated for 4 hours. Now, there was footage, television footage of this happening. Wild. And I saw it on one of my trips over there. So all of the kahunas, they did all of their meditating. Then they got up onto the roof of one of the houses. They did all of their chanting. They held their arms out to the lava. The lava stopped and went off in another direction. They saved Hilo. Very, very interesting. So Uncle George said, we have the power to connect in with nature. And then he taught us in our group, and in the group that I was in, he said, right, we're going to go over here to this little inlet, and you're all going to stand in the water. You're all going to close your eyes, and you're going to concentrate on the water moving clockwise around your ankles. I thought, yeah, really? Really? Like, hello, Comet? I don't know about this. I mean, I'm an Aussie. Like, I'm this down-to-earth Aussie, right? So we're all there, and he said, right, open your eyes. And we opened our eyes, and what was the water doing? It was going clockwise around our ankles. He said, now as you say to it, thank you, stop, and then focus on it going anti-clockwise. Okay, we did that, opened the eyes, the water's going anti-clockwise. Then we had a big luau. So it's like our group was responsible for holding back the rain clouds until the luau was over and it was all packed up. Then the rain clouds could come in. So there we were as a collective in my group, and that was our job for that day, for that night, was to hold those rain clouds back. And I mean, and it happened. So I say to people, the collective consciousness is powerful. And and it's more powerful than anyone would really get it. So you've got to comprehend this. If we want things to be a certain way out there in the world, all we have to do is focus in on that, and it will happen. So I would be saying on the shows with Bryce, I'd go, 100th monkey, hello people, 100th monkey, all we've got to do, focus in on the same thing. Stop listening to these people that are doing podcasts and whatever that are speaking on the negative, that are giving you negative information. It's like you don't understand. And I'm sure if they are controlled opposition and they are placed there, they know exactly what they're doing. And then people would say, well, how do I know if they are or not? I go, your gut feelings will tell you everything. And if somebody sets themselves up on a platform for you to be reliant upon them, then that is bells ringing. Hello. Nobody, if they're working with the energy in the right way, has anybody relying upon them. People will write to me and they'll go, oh, Teymara, should I do this or should I do that? My response back to them is, I don't know. What do you think? Go into your gut feelings. That's your connection to God. That's the way that I read it. That, whenever I get a gut feeling about something, it's God saying to me, no, be careful. Be careful of this one, or don't go. And shows that I've been on, that all of a sudden it's like the cameras are not working, the sound's not working, it cuts out. So, and I go, okay, I'm going to give it another try with these people or this particular platform. So I do, same thing happens again. That's God saying to me, you are not meant to be on this platform. You are not meant to be. And if you persist to be on this platform, I am going to keep on cutting the camera, cutting the sound until you get it. You're not to be there. So that's why I just puddle along and I just do my work. And, and I'm not out doing a podcast every day. I just appear. I do my weeklies that I do for nothing. I do the monthly overview with Bryce that I do for nothing. I don't push product. I don't, and people say to me, should I have a reading with you? And I say, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? because we're programmed. We're so programmed from the word go to rely on other people, to ask other people. Parents are in control. Parents tell you what to do. Like my grandson will say to me, what do you think, Nan? Do you think I should? I go, I don't know, mate. What do you think? What's your gut feeling? What does your gut feeling say? Oh, well, this and that. Well, there you go. There's your answer. Good one. Good one. There's your answer. Off you go. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I was very lucky that in the 70s, the man who basically saved my life was a clinical hypnotherapist. And I ended up working with him and his wife, and I became his assistant. So he taught me everything to do with the subconscious mind. Like, he was amazing. And he was the head of the Australian Academy of Hypnotic Science. And through him and his hard work, we actually had hypnosis recognized as a science and recognized as a health tool for people. But prior to that, it was only doctors and dentists that were allowed to do hypnotherapy. So with me, I learned. So, part of the technique that I do with my Born to Be Free technique houses some of that basic way of working at that subconscious level. But then I was adding more and more layers to that. But to have that fundamental learning, it's like gold. It was like gold for me when I look back now.
Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. I always make people very aware that when you're emotional, you're suggestible. It's quite simple. You can have your intention commandeered, and the demand or command of your attention can be as simplistic as this. And people are like, what? Well, if I put my hand out, your inclination is to shake it. That is a form of obedience and compliance that comes with this interaction. Yeah. I am now creating what they call within a hypnotherapist's psyche a psychodynamic loop. Yeah. That is now more commonly within the biofield, energy potential, these types of things, terminology that understands that we are now unifying. And so with that, you will take advantage of the simplicity of the mirror neurons within your physicality that will mimic that. And further, a deep dive into things or linguistic manipulation like NLP, you can commandeer someone's attention very easily.
I tell you what, it's like Uncle George and the trainer that I had over there in Kona, and we were talking about NLP, and they were saying that NLP is an incredible tool if used for the good, but it can be also used to manipulate. And I have been to, people would say to me, like, why don't you come along to this person? This person's going to be giving a talk. What do I want to do that for? Teymara, like, you don't go, just come along and just experience this person and what they're doing. Oh, God. Okay. All right. So off I go. And one of them, I've never been so disgusted in all my life, because I sat there, mate, and that person from the stage knelt everybody, or tried to knelt everybody in that room to go to the back of the room and sign up to do his course, or to sign up and to buy his, back then it was tapes, buying his tapes, buying his books. It was unbelievable. And I just went, one day, mate, God's going to smack you big time. And the amount of people that would also be knelt to the degree that they would mortgage their homes in order to continue to do all of the study with this person.
Well, I feel like it's sort of a category. I teach people the fundamentals of conscious and unconscious because the resonating frequencies that I transmit are not from the electromagnetism. So this is sort of like a complementary identification of being able to merge that or unify it to some degree. It always starts with that entry level of understanding what is conscious and unconscious, what is an autonomic sort of like autonomous process, and how you move into that and what you do with it. And that's when you get down to, you know, really the fundamentals of the electromagnetism, which is energy. And what does that really mean is that it has a vibration, and that vibration has a frequency. Frequency, if met with a resonance, then, oh, yes, it will be yours. Oh, yes, it will. But you must be able to hold that resonance.
Got to be able to hold it, absolutely.
Maintain it. It's like holding a singing note. If you can hold that note, then it becomes quite clear. It becomes quite powerful in the depth and the tangibility of what that is. But most failed NLP students of people like Tony Robbins are more commonly Barack Obama, Gavin Newsom, a couple of others. They're all failed, and you just see it. I mean, politicians are career manipulators. And so I always tell people the first thing you identify with is their cadence. And they're like, what are you talking about?
You just look at them. You just look at them and you hear what they're saying. You go, yep, okay, right. I know what they're doing. Yep.
Right. I mean, but it even comes in an unconscious level. I had a dream.
That's right.
I believe in this story. And then, of course, what you don't realize is you're buying into that on a level that is beyond your comprehension. But furthermore, it commandeers the unconscious behavior. So that's when you implant the seeds. You anchor into the unconscious, and that becomes the fulcrum of their existence.
That's it. You've got it. And like I say to people, your subconscious mind has a power of 90%. Your conscious mind has a power of 10. So if you are using your conscious mind to try to overcome whatever it is that you've been programmed with at a subconscious level, you've got Buckley's of moving it.
Which brings
I say to people, you have to understand the power within you, but you have to understand how you have been programmed, because we're not born with fears and we are not born with negative beliefs. We learn them, and we learn them from our environment. And then we look at the next lot of energy. And when I do people's charts, I'm able to read the soul energy. So I say to people, listen, you're just a skin bag. I'm just a skin bag. And inside of our skin bags is an energy, and that energy is the energy of our soul. And not all souls are the same. Souls come in on different levels depending on what it is that they're coming here to do. And at this point in time, with what is going on, we've got the souls that are from what I call like a grade 6 level, because I call planet Earth a school. So it's like, how am I going to explain to people about souls? Yeah. So, and those that are from the grade 6 level, there are only 5% of the world's population that have this soul energy vibration. And they've come here on the planet to teach. They've come on the planet to help. They've come onto the planet to heal. And we have been here. We volunteered. God said, I need X amount of these souls down there to hold the energy of the planet until we get to the Jupiter effect, which was in 1984. And then when that happened in 1984, then those souls started to come out and do their teaching and do their healings. And then it just continued on since then. But somebody was saying to me, like, you've spent time in Hollywood. Yep. It's like, how was it? It's like, oh, it's weird. It's just weird over there. And they wanted me to do this show, and they offered me, you know, this huge big contract, and then they changed a clause at the last minute. And I said to them, I'm not signing that. And it's like, what do you mean? And I said, you've changed this clause, which means that you're lying to people if this is how you want this particular, you know, show for me to do, if this is how you want it to go. And you said to me that this is how it would be, but you've changed this clause at the last minute, so I'm not signing it. And they looked at me and they said, sure, you what? I said, no, I'm not doing it. And I said, you're walking away from millions of dollars. I said, I'm walking away with my integrity. I said, I can't do that. I said, so see you later. I'm going back to Australia. But it's so interesting. And then they would always be saying to me, why don't you move over here? Why don't you move over here? It's like, no, I ain't moving here. No. And then I'd read for certain people. And then I would say, no, I'm booked out. I don't have any time. I don't have any time, you know. And they'd say to me, you know, you're not booked out. What are you doing? And I went, I'm not reading for them. And they go, why? And I go, there's something about them. I am not to read for them. But there were people that I would read for, and I spent, you know, time, you know, with these people and saying to them, this is what your soul is all about. This is what your soul has come here to do. And don't forget, it's like you have got God there. You've always got God there, and you are. And I would, whenever I'd see them, I'd reinforce it. So, you know, so I was saying to Erica, my offsider, the other day, I just said to her, you know, I said, I'm just sitting back, and I said, and I hope and pray, I said, that none of those people that I've worked with, that their names are on any of those lists. I said, they haven't come up. Their names have not come up anywhere. And I said, so, you know, I now understand why God put me over there and had me work with these certain people over there, you know, but all we can do is just, you know, go on the path, travel the path that God wants us to travel, and we will know what that is going by our gut feelings. We will just know where we need to be, what it is that we need to do, who it is that we need to see. And once that's done, then you just get out of there. It's like, and that's it. So it's going to be the rest. I mean, this journey has been extremely fascinating, and we now sit back and we just wait for the rest of it now to fall into place. But I thank God for Donald Trump. I thank God for Donald Trump, because he's brought in that energy of waking people up and bringing in the people, and, you know, and just saying, we are here, we are the people, we the people. And Bryce and I did this, you know, have done quite a few shows on like we the people, and about your flag and what that means, and why it is that flag must never ever touch the ground. I mean, it's phenomenal, and it's fantastic. And I can't wait for Australia to be a state of the United States of America. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be amazing. But we've just got to sit back, and we've got to be aware of people, and people that are not of the right spiritual consciousness connected to the God source, because they're going to be going through a very, very difficult time.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. There's definitely a lot of fear mongering, even though, you know, the human condition is such as said, you know, that's what it is. It's a boundary setting, a separation, that psychology is really, you know, a form of mind control. And that's why psychology exists. It's to separate you from yourself by imagining that the psyche is not part of the whole thing, which is our whole. and you are healed when you realize you are all things and nothing. I mean, that's Taoist, the fundamentals of that would be the perception of reality. How we perceive reality is a bellows. Everything is contracting and expanding at the same time. You're all things and nothing at the same time. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, Ethan Hawke, is to find that center point that is really is revealed within the yin and yang, which is the deciphering code to all things. And you lay that template down upon your reality, you will find what we call the Vesica point, the center point, which is the unification. That center point is basically resides within the breath in and the breath out. When you hold that breath, you acquire what we call the absorbing of the riches, which is an accumulation of that potential that creates a hardness that is a tangible state, that is a unification of this very said material, which from a physicist's perspective would be called the realm, a dimension. You are now acquiring the imperium of this electromagnetism. You're unifying it, so it will create what you would consider a miracle, a manifestation, a healing, something beyond superhuman. It's super normal. And that comes from that energy potential, which is so beautiful. And that mastery that you have with the insights within all the things that you teach people, and you're guided by so many different ways to express that through your mastery. I mean, numerology is a high point for a Taoist. The highest number in a Taoist path is 9. And most people, if you pull any polymath or any person that's into geometry, furthermore, the shapes and the numbers, you will find that 9 is the highest point, and further inquiry, you will find that it can be 1 or 0. And that's so bizarre to people. They're like, wow, is that true? Yes. If you ask anyone that's deep within the numbers, 9 is the highest point of ascension, and it can either be a 1 or a 0. That means you can be all things or you can be nothing. To acquire that center point is the Wu Ji. This is what we call the primordial mother. That center point will then reveal itself as what we call Wu Wei. And Wu Wei is what we call effortless action, effortless effort. As Bruce Lee would have coined it back in the 70s, the flow, baby. Yeah. And that flow is evident, synchronistic, serendipitous. All of a sudden you create anything.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because 2025, of course, is a 9.
What a coincidence.
And that's,
what a coincidence. Sure.
That's 2025. It's, I'll be doing a show with Bryce on in a few days' time. I think it's the 23rd. We're doing a show. But I'm going to be talking about 2025 coming up, and also the month of January. So January is going to be huge, especially, and I'm saying to people, look at the first week of January. But with that 9 energy, and people go, well, if you were to explain numerology like in a simplistic way, like what is it all about? I go, well, we've got 9 cycles in nature, so we are a part of the whole. So as nature goes through 9 cycles, we go through 9 cycles. And I said, and it just keeps on repeating itself. It repeats itself. It repeats itself. So whenever you complete the 9, you start again, and then you do your 1 through to 9. So every cycle comes in, we are meant to improve. We are meant to become more enlightened. We are meant to become more like with God as we go along. But it's like, it's been the most fascinating, because I've been doing people's charts now for 40 years and professionally. And I say to people, and it's like, and I, people say to me, like, how do people go, with you when you're telling them this? So I just go, now listen, now you ready? You're sitting there, you're ready for this? Yeah, go get a box of tissues, right? Because I said, you're going to probably have a cry, but I don't know if you're going to have a cry, but you may have a cry because a lot of people cry. I said, so now I'm going to tell you what your soul's all about and what the soul is here to do. And you're the vehicle that's carrying around that soul. So I said, you got to get your act together at the end of having this all done, because then you will know who you really are on that soul level, what the soul has come here to do, what's the journey. And I said, and then just get your act together and start doing it. So when I started on the platforms, I just said to God, only send me these souls. I am not interested in the others. It's too much like hard work with the others, because they are so programmed and they are so sort of like shackled to 3D. They want to know about money. They want to know about, am I going to get a bigger house? Am I going to get a bigger car? It's like, when am I going to meet the man? When am I going to meet the, I mean, hello, comment. You know, and I just say to people, you'll meet the man when you ask God to send you the man at the right time, right? So that's all you do. Do the daily mantra, ask God, if that's what you want, that you want to meet the man at the right time for you, for your, for them to support you in you fulfilling your destiny. And I said, and then get on with your life. Get on with your life. Stop looking for a man to come in, or a woman to come in, or a job to come in, or more money to come in. You think that that house is going to make you happy. You think that, you know, buying some, you know, designer bags going to make you happy. You know, that jewelry is going to make you happy, right? What Santa sleigh are you traveling on? Go get a big grip on reality. And go find out who you are and how you can make a difference in the world and how you can make a difference to that person. Like, I'm absolutely like gobsmacked whenever I'm around anywhere. I mean, LA is just like rife with it, but homeless people, and how people just walk by. They walk by with their designer bags and whatever, and they're all done up and getting into their big swanky cars. And that person is on the street. Oh, yeah, but, you know, they're probably an alcoholic or they've done drugs. I don't care. Why have they become an alcoholic? Why have they become a drug addict? What's happened in their lives? And all you've got to do is give them money, but they're only going to spend it on alcohol, or they're only going to spend it on drugs. I don't care what they do. Just go and buy them food. Don't give them money. No, I give them money. And whatever it is that they do with it is whatever it is that they do with it. And it may be that they're going to buy a bottle of alcohol, but that bottle of alcohol may be the last one that they actually buy, because it gets them to understand, or they have a wake up. They have something actually occurs and they get it. My mother would always say to me, there but for the grace of God go I. Always she said to me, my nickname in the family was Min. She goes, Min? And I go, yeah, there but for the grace of God go I. And I say this to people all the time. How can you walk past a homeless person? And I said, if you don't have the money, you've got time. You can bob down and just go, hi. Hi, how are you going? How's your day been? Right? Like, what happened? How did you get to be here? I don't have any money, but I've got money. I've got time that I can spend with you. I said, and then when you finish, you know, speaking to them or giving them money, you just put your hand on them and just say, God bless you. God bless you, before you go on your way. Interesting.
Well, no, I mean, it's the effect, right? I mean, people.
It's the humanity. It's the humanity.
Well, it's absent of. I mean, the whole point of it is finding the ability to access the most potent frequency any human can transmit, which is empathy.
Yeah.
And able to acquire that. But, you know, you understand when you ascend from a Taoist perspective, ascension is really quite simple. It starts with the physical body, energy body, spirit body, sun body, earth body, moon body, oneness body, ultimate body, and then being with all things. Yeah. That unification means that you are me, I am you. Fear is a very clear evidence of where someone is on their own ascended journey, because that is a very low frequential state of the human condition. Yes, it is part of the expression of humanness, yet it is very important to realize that being commandeered by these mental emotional states are the very distraction of your purpose. From a Taoist perspective, the purpose is that we are ambassadors to planet Earth, and our objective, our goal is to acquire this ascended state, which then transmutes into selflessness and servitude, which then raises humanity, awareness to this empathy, which then transfers to this unification, this super glue that holds it all together, which is love. But yes, this is a subjective thing until otherwise noted. And so, it's interesting that the doom and gloom of all things, financial, service, everything, world war. And even at the beginning of this year, a lot of people were asking Lao-Tzu, well, what's going to happen? Is it's going to be death? And he's quite cheeky. His answer is quite simple. Imagine you're like a grain of sand, asking the beach, what are we doing today? Fall back into the beach and be realized. And I'm just like, you can't make this stuff up. That charge, that oscillating effect, that chill that both you and I receive right now, being in commune, being in this unified state and this oscillated state is the very evidence, which is the experiential moment. We don't have to be all up in what this might be or not be. Servitude and selflessness requires no thought whatsoever. And that is when you know where you're in that center point, that vesica point where you need to be. And from that, it blossoms into this serendipitous, synchronistic realization that can come in the form of, it's good to be you. Manifestation, magic, healing. I mean, the manifestation thing, I think, has kind of been beaten like a dead horse, because so many people want the need to acquire. As you said, they're sort of subduing their consciousness through this 3D perception. And from that, you find it's not rewarding. You're looking to be healed. Your wholeness will not come from the deficiency of some acquired thing, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a cup, whether it's a car, an object. These are all trappings of an experience that can be acquired once you become whole. And then it's not even a distraction. It's a little shiny bauble that sort of is transitory. And that's okay. There's no need to be on this, sparse path of being in service, but having nothing but the shirt on your back. This is also a Hollywood virtue signaling nonsense.
Absolutely.
We'll get into, right? That virtue signaling is absolutely unnecessary. I mean, when 30 years ago, when I started teaching people internal alchemy, it gives you a mastery. There's the old expression, a method to your madness. You need a method. You need something that is repeatable, that can verify this self-realized state that is real, not a transitory psychotic sort of delusion, but actually a manifested sort of state, a transmuted state that can be self-evident, whether it is a synchronistic moment, whether it is your ability, your mastery to show people they can access levels of their own consciousness that merge with one, and then poof, a trauma's gone, poof, a limitation's gone, poof, all of a sudden they become whole from this mastery. This is the evidence that they need. It's like, oh my goodness, I was afraid of snakes, and then you put me in a snake pit 5 minutes after I was with you, and I just want to hang out with them and roll around and play with the snakes and do. This is all part of realizing the power of the now moment. Because no place, no person, no thing, right? That becomes realized when you are the now moment. That means that you are not I am. I find this problematic. I find the secret problematic. A lot of the things that people are moving into, because you're still identifying with said self. When you ask what your value systems are within like The Secret, this is problematic. There is no value system if you're the now moment. I've never witnessed a physical healing, and I witness them on a daily basis. If I am San Qing, if I am the next coming of a Messiah, if I'm a light worker, a healer, a hypnotist, a therapist, you are just now. But that is frequential. And that frequency is something that is mastered, in my personal opinion. Now, there are a million ways up the mountain. I know that what I teach people becomes very self-explanatory and self-realization through that mastery. And it comes from the energy potential. And that's the mystery and the magic that comes with that serendipitous, synchronistic moment. But you want to be able to repeat it. You want to see it. Like your mastery that is stretched over biologically 40 years has been something that is repeatable, because if you weren't able to repeat it, you would be able to help thousands of people like you have throughout your lifetime. So there's a method to that cultivational practice.
Yeah.
Do you have a fundamental process that you like to work with?
I just sit, I set the chart up and I go, okay, God, let's start. And then it's like, it's a story. And I say to people, they go, well, how do you do? I said, look, I don't know. I said, I just get told. I just get told things. And I said, and I know I can look at numbers. I can bring the numbers together, and then I can tell people what happened. Because I do, one of the charts that I do is a life story chart that starts at birth. And I usually take it 6 years into the future, because I believe that forewarned is forearmed, and people cry when I'm taking them through the whole of their life. This happened this year, this year, this year, this year, this year. During this period of time, you experienced this. And they go, how do you know that? And I go, it's your chart. This is your life journey's chart. And they go, well, I came in with, and I go, yeah. I said, it's the only way I can describe it, because never in the 40 years that I've done those charts for people will people go, no, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. They go, yeah. And then I'll say to them, and and with this here, it's like, if you didn't have confidence, you wouldn't have grabbed at this and gone with it. And they went, I wasn't confident. And I go, well, your lack of confidence, that's not who you are. That's what you were programmed with in the first 10 years of your life, when all of that subconscious patterning was put into place. And I said, so it's about going in there, and it's about transforming that. Once you go in and transform that, and you get back to your initial soul's blueprint, because that's what I take people back to. Like, oh, and I used to have big problems. People would go, well, all I've got to do is, what was it? This used to really get me. All I have to do is model myself on that person, because that's how I want to be. I went, excuse me? Well, this person teaches that all you've got to do is model yourself on that person, the person that you want to be. And I go, that's bullshit. And they go, well, like, what do you mean? I said, you've got to get back to your initial soul's blueprint. That's what you have to do. It's not about you being like that person or that one, or using your mind, because what you want to do, you want to have this big house. So you've got to project yourself out. You've got to see yourself in this big house, or having this boat, or whatever. I said, that's illusional bullshit. You get back to your original soul's blueprint that you were born with. And then that's going to take you on your journey. And then you work with the universe, and you work with the universe in whichever way is right for you, whatever it is that you are meant to have in this lifetime. And it will come. But it's like, it's not what you want, because what we want is based in ego. That's all ego bullshit. You got to get into the soul. You've got to have that contact with the soul's energy, and you have that contact with God, and you ask God for you to help and support you, for you to live the journey that your soul has come here to do. That is when you're happy. That creates bliss. People say to me, do you ever get tired of doing your work? Hell no. No, I don't. They go, are you so lucky? And I go, no, I'm not. I'm not lucky. I'm doing what my soul has come here to do. And therefore, I am happy. And God always provides. I may get to a point where I've got this power bill that needs to be paid, and there's not enough money. So then I just ring the power people. I go, I'll pay you $100 here and there whenever it is, and it'll get paid off. And guess what? When I take that attitude, God sends me work, and the power bill gets paid. I don't have to pay it $100 here and there. But as soon as you go into the fear and the lack, and I don't have enough of, and this is what I want, and I've got to be, oh, look at that person over there, they've got that. Why have they got it, and why don't I have it? Oh, God. Anyway, so I can't wait. I can't wait for all of this news, but I've got to go. I've got like 3 minutes. So what do we want to say in the last 3 minutes?
So in the last 3 minutes, I'm going to, first and foremost, I'm going to put all your social sphere and interweb interaction under this podcast. Furthermore, I'm going to ask all my students, disciples, 126s, and subscribers to go out and experience your offerings of transformation. And the last question I'm going to ask you, because it won't be, because we're doing a part 2. So this is...
We're doing a part 2. Okay.
Practically, I think we're going to meet again and do part 2 to this podcast. Yes. So what I would love to ask you is, what is your definition of spiritual consciousness?
One with God.
Love it. Love it. I've done hundreds of these podcasts, never had the same answer, as I should not, because we're all facets of the same diamond of perfection, which is consciousness.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely beautiful. And you are beautiful, and I'm very grateful to have you in my life. And furthermore, we're reunited, and it feels so good. Because
what I'm doing, I'm going through all of these songs at the moment and just going like, listen to this, and I had the pleasure of connecting with Michael Jackson when he was, well, we don't know if he's actually gone, whether he's gone into protective custody or whatever. It's like, I'll be very, very happy to find out that he did. But his song, and I say to people, when I'm doing the show with Bryce, and I talk about the different songs, Michael's songs, listen to his songs. And I was so very, very privileged. Prince, his eldest son, downloaded everything off his laptop. So I think it's called something, but all of the music and everything from his laptop. And I've got a stack of CDs, and they're all taken from Michael's laptop. And I just sit and I listen to them sometimes, and I just smile and just go, wow, that soul, the soul in that guy was amazing. And people will say to me, oh, well, like he was a pedophile. I go, excuse you me?
No.
I said, no, he wasn't.
Never.
I said the cabal, the Illuminati, he had too much power, and they had to destroy him. And the way that they were going to destroy him was to project onto him what they were all doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, clearly, just speaking with him instantaneously, he was slowly microdosed some type of cyanide.
Yeah.
That was having an effect on his ability to function, and finally his demise, which was not from natural causes.
But then I look at it and I go, is he really gone? Did they put him into protective custody? Because so many of them have been put into protective custody. So many. So we will see. We will see. Anyway, thank you so much for interviewing me today, for allowing me to be a guest on your podcast. I have absolutely loved it. It's like many, many blessings to you and love, and I look forward to doing part 2.
Part 2 it is. Yeah, let's go deeper on that, because that's a flip of a coin. It's just like Elvis. When Elvis came to me and he gave me his reincarnation, who do you think he who reincarnated in what superstar singer did Elvis reincarnate into? Do you know?
No, you tell me.
Bruno Mars. And
Really?
furthermore, Elvis actually tells me that if Bruno doesn't stop playing with those low energies that are seducing him, he will fall short at the same timeline that Elvis did, which is 44 years.
Yeah, but but I say this to people like all the time. When I'm working with them over there, entertainers and stuff, I just say to them, your soul is about this. Your soul has come to do this. Focus on this. And I can remember I said to Lionel once, if you keep on working with God and acknowledge that your voice, the melodies that you get, the lyrics that you get are being given to you from God, you will always be okay and you're going to be around for a long time. As soon as you start to think or believe that you are the voice and that it's all about you, you will lose it. It will go. Interesting.
Beautiful. I would say, yes. We need to continue this. So I'll let the audience know that part 2 is coming. As we're besties now, we're remembering.
Now I've got my glasses on, so now I can see.
There you go. Look, Brad in the making right now.
People, you get to a certain age and your eyes just start to go. So now I'm working on healing the eyes and doing all of that. Now, also, it's like with my sessions, if people are wanting to do, like for anybody on podcasts, it's like on my my website, Teymara.com, I've got red boxes. Yeah, and it's got Teymara platform member. So you get a big discount. Okay, and if you're American, it works out to around about $240 American dollars for 2 hours, and you record it. I have people record everything. They say, no, I'll just take notes. And I go, no, you won't. I said, you have to record it, because I said, you have to listen. You've got to listen to what it is that has come through for you. And I said, and if you write it down, you're doing your interpretation. And then you'll say, oh, well, she said this, she said that. I'll go, no, I didn't. That's not my wording. No, I would not say that in a pink fit. All right, so you have to record it, and it's 2 hours. So you have to put aside 2 hours of your day, and you've got to be very quiet. Got to be in a really quiet place.
Well, everyone go out and check that out. And furthermore,
only if it feels right.
Yeah, of course.
Only if it feels right. I don't want anybody coming and wanting a reading done with me if it doesn't feel right, because it won't work.
Anyone listening to this, especially all my students, it's an experience. We're communing with this unified state. This is visceral. This is kinesthetic. This is somatic. We are not just having a transfer of language. This is an experience, these very conversations with incredible beings like yourself. And I welcome it. I look forward to it. I love it. And this is just the beginning, my dear friend.
Okay. See you later.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Love you lots. I want to thank you. I want to thank the universe for bringing you into my life. I want to thank the audience for sharing their time with us today. And I am your humble servant and seafood, Taoist Master San Qing. And I'll see you on the next one, guys.